If you've been struggling to grow bigger biceps, you've probably been neglecting one or more of these key factors. You see, you can't just lift heavy weights or do a bunch of biceps exercise one day a week and expect your biceps to grow forever. There are several key factors you'll need to consider if you're struggling and can't get your biceps to grow. Now, most of these are going to apply to any muscle group except for one of the points, exercise selection, where we're going to specifically talk about my recommended biceps exercises that you should be doing if you're trying to grow bigger biceps. Before we move on, really quickly, drop down to the comments and let me know what your favorite biceps exercises are. Now, if your goal is trying to grow bigger arms in general, you're going to need to focus on the triceps because that's going to take up 2/3 of the size of your arm. I can do another video like this specifically on triceps as well. If you're interested, please drop a comment and let me know, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it when it comes out. The first important factor is exercise order. If you're trying to grow bigger biceps, you don't want to do your exercises for biceps at the end of the workout when your muscles are fatigued and your cardio is shot. So if you're trying to focus on your biceps, you want to put those exercises at the start of your workout. So you've got all the strength and energy you need to put all your effort into it. It's also going to allow you to more accurately track your progressive overload and make sure that you're making progress each week. The second important factor is to make sure you're using proper form. If you're not using the right form and just, for this example, throwing the weight up with your shoulders and catching it and dropping it on the way down, you're not going to grow the biceps because your biceps aren't doing the work. And if the weights are too heavy, drop to a lighter weight so that you can really focus on proper form and isolating the muscle you're focusing on. The third key factor is assessing your training frequency, volume, and intensity. If you're only working out once a week, you're going to have to push it up to at least twice a week, ideally 3 times a week, and make sure that the amount of work you're doing in each session is enough that you can still recover by the next session and get a good workout. Depending on how you structure your weekly routine, you might be able to squeeze in a 4th workout if one of those days is lighter weight, less volume, higher rep count, and that's going to allow more opportunities to stimulate that muscle growth. For training volume, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you're doing too much volume, you want to scale it back and make sure you're doing high intensity sets and really getting a good intensity with each of the sets you're doing. But if you're not doing enough volume, you're going to want to boost that up and try to push your limit to the max that you can do and still recover in time for the next session. And finally, the intensity. You have to push hard. Push each set as close to failure as you can, or at least within 1 to 2 sets of failure. And that last set for each exercise, all the way to failure as much as you can, maybe even a drop set beyond failure. So you're really pushing your muscles as far as they can go to get a maximum muscle growth stimulus. And the 4th point is going to be exercise selection. There are 4 main exercises that I recommend you do in your routine. The first one, if you have access to it, is going to be a heavy barbell bicep curl. If you don't, you can do it with dumbbells, but it's not going to be quite the same, not as stable and not as easy to overload, but you want to hit your biceps with heavy weights as long as you're doing good form. And the thing about mastering good form with the barbell bicep curl or even with dumbbells is that you can cheat a little bit as you're getting fatigued, so you can get the weight up and control the eccentric motion down so that you're pushing yourself closer to eccentric failure. The second exercise that I recommend doing, which you can pair up with this first one, is a bicep curl where the arm is positioned behind your body. Now this can be an incline bench bicep curl, this can be a Bayesian cable curl, or this can be the flat bench bicep curl. So you're basically doing an incline bench curl or flat bench curl, but with the arms supported by the bench as well, providing a lot more stability. The third exercise I want you to do, which you can also progressively overload and use heavier weights quite nicely, is a preacher curl. This puts the arms out in front of you. It gives a lot of stability. It does put the biceps into a slightly shortened muscle position, but you get a very high degree of tension in that maximum stretch portion of the exercise, and you can overload it quite nicely. So it's a great exercise to work into the routine. And the 4th and final exercise I recommend that you add in if you're not doing it is a supinating dumbbell crossover curl. This is going to target the brachialis muscle, which is underneath the biceps muscles, and as it grows, is going to push the biceps muscles higher, making the biceps stand out more. The 5th point is to make sure you're getting adequate rest, and I touched on this slightly before. If you're doing too much volume and too much intensity that you're not recovering for the next session, you're not going to be able to give a good workout. So you want to make sure that you're resting enough to recover in time for the next session. The other factor is that if you're doing just too much in general, you're pushing the other muscle groups as far as you can, and your systemic fatigue is just all the way up there and you're just shot, you got no energy, your body is not going to have the energy it needs to rebuild the muscles and provide that muscle growth that you're looking for. So you got to make sure you're getting enough rest between each exercise. You're got to make sure you're getting enough rest in the week, and you definitely got to make sure you're getting enough sleep each night. And the final point is you got to make sure you're in at least a small calorie surplus and getting adequate protein if you want to make sure you're stimulating the muscles to grow as much as possible. If you've hit a plateau and you're not making progress, you got to make sure that you're eating more calories than your body needs at baseline, because you're otherwise not going to be able to put the energy towards building muscle if you're barely getting enough calories to maintain what your body needs. You also want to make sure you've got enough protein that's going to aid in recovery of the muscles after each workout, and it's going to make sure that your body has the building blocks that it needs to build more muscle. So I hope that this was helpful. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more, and I hope to see you in the next video.